Good morning. Sorry being a little bit late. I know you'll have a hard time believing this, but I was actually going to be almost relatively sort of on time, whatever that means for us. And I got to talking to somebody. Go figure. Go figure. And I never would have thought when I was in college, listening to this song through a cloud, that it would ever be the theme song for a church service. Wonderful stuff. Most of you got an email. In fact, if you're on our email list, all of you got an email this week about Sunday service, and we were talking about our bonus 5th service of the month.
Yay.
Except today is June 1st. Oops. So, we were wrong. Oh well. We do have 2 patron saints now by the name of George Carlin and John Lennon.
Hey, George and John.
Both of their souls rest in peace. And John, you are not your emotions. You have emotions, and you can master them.
Right.
And George, the main reason Santa is so jolly is because he knows where all the bad girls live. Go figure. Yeah, well. And you know, more t-shirts where you can actually get these t-shirts. And as you might imagine, I cannot read most of these, but some of these I can. If con is the opposite of pro, then Congress is the opposite of progress.
Yeah.
Could be. Just being me is a full-time job. You are about to exceed the limits of my medication.
I want that. $20 for that.
Yeah. Don't grow up, it's a trap. And my favorite, every mother on earth gives birth to a child, except my mother. She gave birth to a legend. I like that. This was interesting. Arianna Huffington, she started the Huffington Post, big blog. I mean, has been very, very successful. But I thought I would read this. It's kind of interesting. In your new book, Thrive, you encourage people to think about a third metric of success. What are the first 2? Money and power, or organization. Those are the conventional metrics, and I had those. But 2 years into the launching of the Huffington Post on April of 2007, to be exact, I collapsed from exhaustion, broke my cheekbone, and needed 4 stitches over one eye. By any sane definition, you would find yourself lying in a pool of your own blood on the office floor. You are not successful. What's the third metric? It's a combination of 4 things: health, wisdom, a capacity for wonder, and giving. In your book, you devote a lot of space to the impact that burnout had on decision making. Why? The most important thing that we as entrepreneurs have in our human capital is our human capital. If we exhaust it, we make bad decisions. 3/4 of the startups fail, and many of the people who start them are burning the candle at both ends. So maybe it's time to consider the collective delusion. The only way to make a success is to work 24/7. Do you really think we can move away from that attitude? We're at an interesting cultural moment, similar to the transition from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance, where the barbaric daily behaviors that we've grown used to are starting to change. We take better care of our smartphones than we do of ourselves. The phones are always recharged, but at the same time, 35% of the mid-sized and large companies now have stress reduction programs, and they have found a positive impact on the bottom line. Could you have built HuffPro so well if you hadn't worked so hard? I would have been as successful, if not more so. Who knows what else I might have done if I hadn't paid such a price in terms of stress, anxiety, and the impact that I had on my own health and my relationships. Interesting. So, and the last of the pornography. What does a clock do when it's hungry? It goes back for seconds. I know, it's terrible. I wonder why the baseball was getting bigger than it hit me. And the last, and finally the last of these ones, broken pencils are pointless. All right. Little kids, after the christening of his baby brother in church, Jason sobbed all the way home in the back seat of the car. His father asked him 3 times what was wrong. Finally, the boy replied, Well, that preacher said he wanted us to be brought up in a good Christian home, and I want to stay with you guys. Okay. Officials of the Roman Empire used the term publicare to mean making public or announcing state decisions. Passing through Old French, the ancient expression entered medieval English as publish. Only an occasional writer used the modern form, for the word was current in more than 30 spellings. It was applied in such activities as making public the contents of a will, announcing one's intention to marry, and spreading news by word of mouth. The invention of printing provided a new method of announcing or publishing matters of public interest. Eventually, the word transferred from distribution of printed copies to the process of printing itself. By the time of Columbus, to publish was generally applied to the printer's work alone. Interesting. I love where words came from. Some of them make no sense at all. But things that make you go, It is easier to cope with a bad conscience than a bad reputation. Yeah. Well, I know. It just makes you think. That's all. It's like, okay, you can take it or not. There is in a man an upwelling spring of life, energy, love, and whatever you like to call it. If a course is not cut for it, it turns the ground around it into a swamp. Cool. The mill cannot grind with the water that's past. A fool always finds a greater fool to admire him. All right. Some of you might know this one. The world's least populated country in the world is... Think about it for just a second. Vatican City. It's got about 1,000 people. Ta-da! The last one. Hey, we had a barbecue last week.
Yes.
Thumbs up. Thank you, Joe and Valerie and Laurie and everybody else that helped with that. And everybody that stayed to eat. That was good stuff. We're going to probably do that again. In fact, I know we're going to do that one again. While creating husbands, God promised women... this is going to probably be the last one since Father's Day is coming up really soon, so I'll pick on somebody else. While creating husbands, God promised women that the good and ideal husbands would be found in all corners of the world. Then he made the world round. There we are. All right, let's sing a song. I'm going to play another song afterwards because Mary had sent me one. I think I'm going to play it right afterwards, but it's just kind of neat. So bear with all the fidgety stuff that I do after the song.
Hello. Say bye. Say goodbye. Thank you. I'm almost ready. Sorry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I got all this stuff going on in my head, and it all makes sense, I think. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. First of all, before we get started on that, I'm still seeing blue flashes. Valerie and Joe, Yvonne, and Lori took a class yesterday called Spirit Art. And do you have your pictures? You can just kind of show them. Within the Spirit Art, then they find, Lori's got hers coming, shapes and figures of spirit guides. It's very, very cool. So if you get a chance to see them after services, here comes Lori's. Yvonne, I don't have your number, so I didn't ask you to bring yours, so I apologize for that. But there's all kinds of spirit animals and stuff in there. So if you guys could be available afterwards, it's a very cool process. And was it fun or what?
It was so
It was really good.
And we're still looking at it,
Still finding stuff. Still finding stuff. So anyway, if you're interested in doing that, I might be convinced to do that again.
I'd do it again.
You do it again? Cool. So anyway, So much for that. All right, so what do I want to talk to you about? I want to talk to you about being an inspiration in your own life. Because sometimes the people in our world are less than inspiring. The circumstances in our life are less than inspiring. Our work environment is less than inspiring. And sometimes we're all we've got. So being the one who can be the source of our own inspiration is really important. It's really important. How wonderful is it that we have this community, this fellowship, this group that we can meet once a week, and connect in, have classes, be inspired by one another's work, artwork, or whatever, experiences in life, share stories. That's really, really important. But in the day-to-day grind, sometimes we need to find that inspiration when we're by ourselves. So it's important to be able to have that capacity to do that. So there's no one way to do that. I want to show you a way. And it's a good way. And you might want to try it. First thing I would ask you to do, well, the first thing I would ask you to do, I asked you to do a couple weeks ago, and that's get off of autopilot. Remember we talked about being on autopilot? Autopilot will rob you of inspiration. Now, with that said, pardon, allergies. Russian olives are almost done blooming in this area. Irises are done, so I'm okay with that. But there's always something in this area. Anyway. Did I make your nose itch? Sorry. So the first thing to do is to get off of autopilot. Now, autopilot has value. Autopilot keeps us from burning our brain cells out, remembering how to brush our teeth. You know, we got to have some autopilot so we can do other things and just get that stuff done. At the same time, if we live our life completely on autopilot, then we miss out. So usually, the first thing that happens when we drop out of autopilot is we go, oh crap, what have I got here? I'm in autopilot for a reason because I want to just be oblivious to what's going on. So the very second step is taking stock of your world. Take stock of your environment. Are you happy? If you're not, you have a choice. Go back on autopilot or do something about it. Oh crap. It's not fun, but it's wonderful. It's a good thing. It's a really wonderful thing. So take stock of where you are. Are there things in your life that are not working? Are there things in your life you don't enjoy? Take a look. Getting out of autopilot says, I give myself permission to look at this stuff. I don't have to like it, but I am giving myself permission to look at it. Because if you don't look at it, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. But if you look at it, then you have power over it. You have power of choice. So let's say you look at something and you go, oh man, this is not good. I hate my job. I hate my job. I don't need you to raise your hand, but if you're in that place of, I hate my job, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Because here's the deal. If we hate our job or hate any aspect of our service, I hate where I live. I hate who I'm with. When we have that, I hate this, we're stuck. Who likes to be stuck? Anybody? Oh, not a hand. Wonderful. Amazing how that works. But here's the deal. If we're not happy and we're not on autopilot, that's a good thing. Because being on autopilot, you're just a drone zombie. And there's zombies out there. And there's lots of zombies out there that are on autopilot and they want to steal and suck the life out of your brain. They want to steal your own inspiration. So by not being on autopilot, all of a sudden now the people that are on autopilot become, oh my gosh, look at that. And we get uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. The trick is how long do you want to stay there? Because if you like staying uncomfortable and being miserable, don't tell me about it. Now, if you've got an issue and you're struggling with something, let's talk about it. Let's get things changed. Let's do it differently. But here's the deal. If you're miserable, if you hate some aspect of your life, this is your own soul saying, it's time to change that. Now, there may be things that you can change, maybe something you can't change. Maybe you have to stay in the job that you're at because it pays the bills for now. And maybe it's time, you can stay in the job that you're in till you find something different. And this gives you time to say, okay, what do I really want to be doing with my life? What avenues would benefit and bless me? That's half the story. Here's the other half of the story. Usually when we get in a place where I hate blah, 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 we resist. And we get stubborn. Those heels dug in. I'm not going to be happy. And that steals from us any hope of inspiration in our lives. So what do we do about that? Well, it's really quite one of those simple, hard things. Simple but not easy. That is simple but not easy. Do your best. Do your best. If you hate your job, go to work and do your best. If you hate your boss, go to work and do your best. If you hate where you live, find a way to do your best about improving the community. If you hate who you're with, do your best to be the best spouse you can be. Because here's how this works energetically. If you're in a job you hate and you resist it and continue to hate it and get defiant and don't do a good job, guess what? The better job cannot come to you. Can't. You just locked the door on that opportunity. But if you're doing your best, you're going to outgrow that job and you're going to be like smushed out of it into something new. Same thing with relationships, same thing with where you live, same thing with anything that is amiss in your life that you hate. Do your best. And do your best with the best possible attitude and the best possible hope and the best possible willingness. Phil and I, we've had jobs that we did not like. There was a job I had. And we had first moved here. And, you just get the job you can get. We had bills we needed to pay, get our feet on the ground. When you move, everything's hard. Move is a 4-letter word, not to be mentioned in polite company. So Phil got a job that he didn't care much for. And I got a job I didn't care for. I cried every morning before I went to work. I cried every evening on the way home from work. Phil didn't cry. He'd go, oh, I'll just sprint to work. And then he would get to work, be a happy person, do the best job he could. And when he got home, oh man, you wouldn't believe what happened today. Oh, bent it, and then went on with life. No one knew we were miserable in our work because we did our best in that work. Because we weren't working for the people we were working for. We were working for a higher good. And we were working for our own soul's benefit. Why punish innocent people with a bad attitude because I'm unhappy? I don't get to do that. We don't get to do that. If you're unhappy, thank the good Lord, or whatever it is you thank. Thank the good Lord because you are in a place to change something. And the first thing you can change is yourself. As we change ourselves and apply ourselves to do the very best we can at even something we don't like, we get smooshed out of that into something much better. The next job I had was phenomenal. I loved it. The next job Phil had just was better than that. And he's just progressively gotten happier, better jobs. Same with me. When I let outside circumstances dictate to me whether I am a happy person or not, I'm screwed up. When I let outside circumstances dictate to me that I can't be happy, I have let outside circumstances steal my own inspiration. Whose job is that? Mine. It's no one else's job to make me happy but me. No one. No one. And it's not my job to make my unhappiness a problem. Unhappiness is this wonderful point of choice. Oh, I hate this job. Wake up, I finally figured it out. I don't like this. Guess what? I get to make a new choice now. When I'm on autopilot, there's no choice. I just get up, I just do, I keep going, and then the next day I get up, I keep going. So coming out of autopilot, the first thing you're going to experience is, oh my gosh, I'm not happy. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. Because that unhappy is letting you know that you are no longer the source of your own inspiration. That inspiration is there as a part of who you are as a spiritual being. And if you are uninspired, you shut that off in some way, or denied it, or run from it, or hidden from it. Because let's face it, it's easier to be on autopilot than it is to be accountable for one's own life. Is it not? It's easier. It's easier. Oh, I just work, and then I come home and I'm too tired and I watch TV and then I go to bed and then I wake up in the morning and I work. That's easy. Anyone can do that. But you're not anyone. You're not anyone. You are a precious child of light and you deserve more. You deserve better. Your soul wants more. Your soul wants better. So whatever it is that you're unhappy with in your life, thank God for that. And apply your best to it. Good book says, Colossians, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord rather than for men. Whatever you do, happy hands. Your hands can change the world. Your hands can change your own world, your own life. By choosing to do it heartily, with your heart. Engage in it. Do you hate it? Okay, I get that. Been there, done that. But do it with your whole heart. Because your whole heart is the part of you that inspires you to better. It inspires you to better. And if you live inspired, the work that no longer serves you will be removed and something new and better and wonderful will come to you. So do it with a full, happy, joyful heart. Do it heartfelt. Engage your inspiring, motivational self, the core of who you are, your divine light. Put your divine light in everything you do. Everything. Everything. Even if you hate it. How many people love to pull weeds? Okay, Phil, you do, but yeah. There are a few that may not be the perfect example. But let's face it. Tackling. But here's the deal. Pulling weeds, if you put your heart into it, can be really zen. If you go, stupid weeds, I hate these stupid weeds. How many weeds are you going to pull before you burn out? But what if you go, I'm pulling a weed, and it's going to be released. Next thing you know, that whole patch is weeded, and you're still cool. How wonderful is that? Because it's not about the damn weeds. It's about putting my heart into it. I am clearing space. And every weed I pull is a mental weed. This is that activity that person is doing driving me nuts. Let that go. It's so funny. And you know what? People change. Go do your weeding now. It's really fun. And the people in your world change. It's the most bizarre thing. I think we need to do our own. So whatever we do, put our whole heart into it. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem. This gets annoying. Our brain, the noodle head. You see, because if we're doing the Zen reading or any other task that you're doing, and you're doing it with your wholeheartedly, with your attention and your intent, and with joyfulness applied, that's one thing. That's your innocence. That's your spiritual innocence at work. And it's very powerful. But we have an inner brat. And that inner brat loves to get in our head and go, I hate weeds. I hate it. I just hate it. It's ugly and I hate them. You ever talk to yourself like that? I just hate it. You don't want it. That's your inner brat. Okay, remember when Jesus was telling people, he had to die. And Peter says, oh no, Lord, may it never be. He didn't know the plan. Well, that's okay. Peter didn't know a lot of stuff. But Peter had a good heart. Bless his heart. He showed up. That's a good thing. So he, oh no. And what did Jesus say? Get thee behind me, Satan. Tell that inner brat to shut up. I hate my job. Shut up. Get thee behind me, Satan. Stop listening to that voice, because that's not your inspired voice. Your inspired voice doesn't talk to you that way. Your inspired voice says, okay, here's the task at hand. I wonder if I can meditate and type this at the same time. I don't know. Let's see. Whatever your task is that you're expected to do, wash dishes. Oh, washing dishes is very meditative. Scooping a cat box can be meditative. Whatever you do it with your intent applied. And you know what? Here's the really fun thing, is when you do that and you're doing your best, not just mundane and blanked out, inspiration comes. You'll get a thought. Oh, ping. Not that inner brat thought, but you'll get an inspiring thought. And you go, oh, when I finish this task, I'm going to go do that. And then guess what? When you get home from work, you're not so tired. You don't have to run in and watch TV or play a video game or whatever. You can get up and you go do something fun that inspires your own life. True? True. The inner brat. Let's talk about the inner brat a bit. You know how a little kid will, Mommy! Your inner brat is like that. And your inner brat will work till it gets your attention. And your inner brat will fight with you until you say, get thee behind me. I don't want to talk to you. Okay? But you know what? So does spiritual inspiration. Spiritual inspiration comes out and goes, hello, are you here? Are you there? Hello? And inspiration, when we're busy being an autopilot or hating what we're doing, inspiration says, okay, you're not ready. I'll back up a bit. I'll come back another day. So who are you going to pay attention to? The inner brat? Well, the inner brat's louder. Can be louder. But that inspiration is here also for us. And when we can step out of autopilot and into our own lives, into our own inspiration, then divine connection can connect. That divine inspiration can, hey, guess what? Look over here. And there's a beautiful sunset. Or hey, take a look over there. And there's this beautiful hummingbird who's just right there. Oh, I'd have missed that. We miss out on our lives because we're busy not being in our lives. If you want to be blessed, do your best. Let me quote me on that. If you want to be blessed, do your best. Even at the stuff you hate. If you want to be blessed, do your best. Do your best. If you don't like some aspect of your life, do it better. And then inspiration can come and say, look over here. Here's a different thing that I'd like you to try. Make sense? Make sense? Okay. So, do you all have a one thing that you don't like? Can you think of something that you don't like? Some aspect of your life you don't like? Some of us might be a little harder than others. We're going to do a guided meditation here in a minute, but I'd like you to have that pre-figured out so that you can apply this guided meditation to this one thing. Okay? So, do we have music, Mr. Phil, for a guided meditation? We haven't done that in a long time.
We haven't done that in a long time. I can do that.